Welcome to the Guided Podcast, where we support you to find the courage to listen and act. I'm Amanda Goolsby, and with me is
Allie Katz.
Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Guided Podcast. It's Amanda here, and I am here recording a solo cast. My current location is downtown Old Town Scottsdale. And wow, do I have some stories for you about this place and the role that it played in my life of being guided in my journey. And this episode today is going to be a doozy, so I hope you're ready for it. And just know that in this episode, I will be talking about addiction. I will be talking about drugs and alcohol. I will be talking about the recovery process. I'll be talking about my own journey. I'll be talking about what I'm being guided to right now with some of the really, really, really near and dear people in my life. And this episode will also be about compassion and love. Because in one way or another, we're all dealing with addiction. In one way or another, in some way, shape, or form, nearly every person on this planet has some sort of addictive tendency behavior that is occurring in their life in this moment. Whether it's a cell phone or social media, or someone is just addicted to drama and they just always are attracting and manifesting drama in their life, whatever it is. But today, before I tell you what I'm going to tell you a story. So I've shared some of my story in this show in the intro episodes, but I want to go back to the year of 2010. In the year of 2010, I was in a jet ski accident. When that accident happened, my entire identity, everything my life was built around, was my body and my ability to be a fitness person, like the fitness girl. You know, I was a personal trainer. I was teaching group fitness. I was studying exercise science in college. I was a bodybuilder that bartended on the weekends so that I could be in the party environment at college, but make money and not be drinking alcohol. That was a fun one. But ultimately, when my accident happened in July of 2010, at the blink of an eye, I went from my whole identity being built around my body and my fitness to boom, I'm in a wheelchair. And I lost it. I didn't know who I was. I really, truly didn't know who I was anymore. And when that happened, what came next? My life started to fall apart, because one thing I've learned now at this point in the journey is that if you build your life on something that can get taken away from you, like your body, good luck when it gets taken away from you. Because then who are you? And then what do you stand for? And then what are your morals and values, and how do you keep those up? When you build your identity and who you see yourself as around your kids, and then you lose a kid, what happens? When you build your identity around a job or a career or a business, and then you lose the business or you sell the business, then what happens? And I've seen this happen not just with myself, but with so many people over and over and over again in my life, where they've built their identity on something that can get taken away. And when it does, their life falls into shambles. So in 2010, when my life started to fall into shambles and I'm in the darkest depression of my life, I've put on 30 pounds. I don't even recognize myself. I had some friends come home from college and they were like, let's go party. And I was like, ugh, like I can't drink alcohol. Are you kidding me? I'm in a wheelchair. I will fall and break my leg again. And I do not want it to get worse. I've already been through enough. And then I went anyways with them to downtown Portland. And in that chance, couple of times that I went and journeyed to downtown Portland, I got introduced to a man. And the man was a DJ, and he was someone who was someone in the nightclub scene. And the man was 17 years older than me. And this man that I speak of, said to me, hey, why don't you come do Molly with us for New Year's? And I said, Molly? What's Molly? I don't know what that is. Mind you, I'm the fitness woman. I'm known at Washington State University as Rec Girl because I lived at the rec center. I just worked out. That was all I did. Work out, eat, work, do school. And that was it. So I was like, Molly, what's Molly? Oh, it's this thing. It's like, you don't lose your motor control. And so I went home. I remember so vividly going home to my mom's house where I was sleeping in a hospital bed in her living room. And I remember sitting down at my computer and Googling MDMA and Molly and looking up this substance and saying, okay, is it addictive? Non-addictive. Okay, great. That's good to know because I've been watching my brother struggle with a heroin addiction. Don't want that in my life. I was clear about that already at the age of 21. And then it said, you don't lose motor control. I was like, great. I'm not going to fall on my face, which was my worry when it came to drinking alcohol. And then it said, all the other things. Those were really the ones that I was tracking. It's like, okay, I'm not going to get addicted to it and I'm not going to fall on my face. It's a drug. I don't know much about it. I'm taking it from a drug dealer, so who knows what I'm actually taking. So funny when people say to me like, oh, like I've got the cleanest shit. I'm like, oh yeah? Where did you get it? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, a drug dealer? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. Still to this day, I see it a lot, still in circles where I see a lot of this behavior happening because it's happening everywhere in the world. And I'm not judging it. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying I don't participate in any way, shape, or form. I'm just being honest. So I tried Molly for the first time on New Year's Eve of 2010 to 11. And then by the end of January, mind you, one thing I know about myself is that in the past, there was a version of me that was very, how do we call this? All or nothing. All or nothing. If I go in on something, and I still have this in my essence, but I've learned how to just be more mature about it. So I went from having never used drugs in my life to taking drugs for the first time on New Year's to by the end of that month, I was a full-blown drug dealer selling a half ounce of MDMA a weekend out of the nightclubs in Portland. I can laugh about it now because it's comedy to me when I look back at the version of me that was so disconnected from myself, so disconnected from my passions, so disconnected from my body, from my knowing, from my intuition, from spirit, from God, from the universe. Who was so disconnected and in place of such deep disconnection that I was just reaching and grasping for anything that could give me even moments of peace. So I ended up using Molly, MDMA, every Friday and Saturday for 7 months. And for any of you that have done Molly before in your life, you might think, holy cow, how did you even survive? Because one of the things that MDMA or Molly does is it completely depletes your serotonin, which is the happy hormone. So what does that mean in actual real life terms? It means when you get done doing this substance, you can feel like shit for the next few days because you just depleted all of your happy hormones. So until those happy hormones get back in, you feel sad. And you're like, man, I just had literally the best night of my life. I felt amazing. Mark my words. It does feel amazing. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't mess around and play with it anymore, but wow, it is amazing. Mind you, at the same time, in December of 2010, I had just had an experience where one day I was sitting at my house with my mom in the hospital bed, and I was eating a popsicle. And I'm laying back eating this popsicle, and all of a sudden, I pass out. And I wake up, and the popsicle has melted all over me. And the reason that I passed out is because I was being prescribed by a doctor. At 21 years old, I was being prescribed 80 milligrams of Oxycontin per day, as well as 15 milligrams of Percocet every 3 hours. And I had been on that prescription for 90 days straight. First off, prescribing that much pain medicine to a 21-year-old should be a crime. And it is in some cases now, because we're understanding now that the medical system is overprescribing medication to people to keep them in the cycle of utilizing medicine. And then when they're using medicine, they get more medicine, and then the medical complex is flourishing. And yet humans, beings, young ones are dying. Oh, it makes me so fucking mad. So in December of 2010, not long before I tried Molly for the first time, I said to my mom one day, I said, Mom, I'm done. She's like, what do you mean you're done? I'm like, I am done taking any of these pills. I just fell asleep with a popsicle on me. This is not okay. I'm like, I don't care how much pain that I am in. I was like, I will handle it. And I don't care how hard it's going to be for me to come off these drugs. I will handle it. I am done being a zombie in my body, and I want my fucking life back. And my mom's like, I don't think this is a good idea, Amanda. I don't think it's a good idea for you to just quit cold turkey. I said, I don't care what you think. This is my body and my choice, and I'm done. Around mid-December 2010, I took my very last pill, painkiller, and I went to sleep. And for the next 4 nights, my sweet little angel of a mom that I was at that point sharing a bed with, she would roll me off my side of the bed halfway through the night when I completely sweat through the sheet as I was going through this detox process. And she'd roll me over to my side of the bed, and then she'd change out the sheets. She'd have like an extra sheet already built in before I'd go to bed at night. And then she'd change out the sheets. And then after she changed out the sheets, she'd roll me back over. And we played that game for 4 nights straight. And at the end of the 4th night, guess what? The detox was over. The pain wasn't gone, but the detox was over. As a matter of fact, from December of 2010, I was in chronic pain every single day until 2021. And that's a story for another time. But mind you, from that day, I mark my words, have never, ever, 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 ever taken another painkiller. No matter how much pain I was in, no matter what happened, no matter if I fell or whatever occurred over the course of the next decade plus, I have never taken another painkiller. As a matter of fact, I haven't even taken an ibuprofen or a Midol or a Advil or any of those things over the last 5 years, maybe even 6 now. So to say I was addicted to substances is true. I was massively addicted to opioids. I had to completely detox from them. I was massively addicted to the psychological experience of MDMA. I wasn't physically addicted. When I decided I was going to stop using MDMA, I stopped. With substances, it's not about just the physiological addiction that occurs so strongly with heroin and meth and fentanyl and cocaine. Those are the top 4 that I would say have the strongest minds. It's not about just that. It's about the fact that if you have a substance that has chains on you because you are utilizing anything to disassociate from your life, to not feel your feelings, to not look at what's happening in your world and your reality, and you're doing it with consistency over and over and over and over and over again, even though you know it's not what you want to be doing, you may have an addiction. Want to know the good news? It's okay. It's okay. I still love you. And you are still valuable. And you still have value on this planet. You're not a bad person. You might be a person who is making some bad decisions in this moment, but know you are loved. Because one thing I've learned from this journey is that people need more love, not less. People need more love, not less. People need more love, not less. So in 2010 to 11 and then 12, I moved here. And when I got here to Old Town Scottsdale, to literally where I am in this moment, I came here to start my life over. I packed up everything I owned. I got in my car and I drove from Portland to Phoenix. And I was like, I'm done. I'm starting my life over. No more of this whole drug thing. No more of the nightclub thing. No more. Well, something that I've now learned about myself is I am not the fastest learner on the planet. I used to not be. I've gotten a lot faster now. It used to take me 2 tries for everything. I had to get 1 try and then I'd have to do it the next try. And so I get here and I'm like, I'm going to start my life over. Well, guess what? Guess where I ended up? Old Town Scottsdale nightclubs. Within 3 weeks, I knew who every single drug dealer was, and I was sure as hell friends with them. Why? Because I knew the game. I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler, baby. I just want you to know it ain't where I've been. I am a hustler. Always have been, always will be. Until one day, I'm here in Old Town Scottsdale. And I have not yet started working in the fitness industry. I have not yet started getting my life on track. And I had a rock bottom moment. And that rock bottom moment is I ended up waking up in the hospital, and I was like, what the actual is happening? Why am I here? And they were like, well, we found you in the back of a taxi cab. You were completely incoherent. No one knew how you got there. And we don't know. And I was like, oh my God. Mind you, I hadn't overconsumed anything that night. I had had a couple of drinks, maybe two. Never have been a big alcohol person. But I'm pretty sure that someone put something into my drink, probably GHB, the date rape drug. Because after two drinks, the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital. And that was a moment for me. It was a moment. It was a, I call them the come to Jesus moments, where I had one weeks prior where it was like, if you don't leave Portland, you're going to end up dead or in prison. And this is another one of those, like, if you don't get your shit together, you're not going to get your shit together. So figure it out. Man, I was addicted to so many things at that point in my life. I was addicted to being the victim. I was addicted to self-abuse. And because of that, I was addicted to allowing others to abuse me because I was self-abusing. If you haven't yet read The Mastery of Love, I'd highly suggest it. Don Miguel Ruiz, that book changed my life in 2017. So what is all of this, sharing this story? How is this connected to your journey? And now what is occurring in my life and what has now occurred in these last few weeks that is 100% divine guidance, 100% being guided and having the courage to listen and act at the speed of spirit, I say. So what does this have to do with your life? Well, maybe at some point in me telling my story, you saw yourself. Maybe at some point in my story, you were able to say, that's me. Maybe at some point in my story, you thought to yourself, I am addicted to something right now. I'm addicted to something right now. And I don't want to be addicted to something right now. So I'm going to keep listening. And maybe you thought to yourself, man, I wish that my mom or my brother or my sister or my coworker or my friend would stop their drug or alcohol or abuse addiction. Maybe it's for someone you care about in your life that you keep listening. But I'll tell you what, this conversation is going to be at the forefront of what I speak about in this world forever. Because in order for us to transform this planet, we have to transform what is happening with drugs on this planet, especially for our children. And so that brings me to this. I'm sitting in a freaking hot spring in Yosemite a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago, 2 Fridays ago. And I'm just sitting there minding my own business before spirit, God, infinite intelligence, the universe, nature, whatever you would like to call it. My current experience, I'm calling it God. God comes to me and I hear this voice that says, text Travis and ask him how his son is. I'm like, well, that's weird. Okay, so who's Travis? Well, Travis is the man who in 2012, when I had that rock bottom moment, not only like 3 months later after that, he took me under his wing. He gave me a book on leadership. He said, you're kind of a bitch. If you don't learn leadership, you're going to fail at this company. And also, you're one of the most talented and resilient and determined women I have ever met in my whole career. And if you just focus on making your life better by doing some personal development, what you're going to accomplish in the next 5 years will be unlike anything I've ever seen. And he was right. That's what happened. But he put me on the path. He took me under his wing. He mentored me for a good 18 months. We spent hours together every week. And there's more to the story that will be shared when the time is right. But let's just say in 2014, our relationship ended. It ended, and it was so sad because he had been the most influential person in my life. And his children, I babysat, and. So when I hear text Travis and ask him how his son is, I'm like, this is so random. Not only have we not seen each other since 2014, other than running into each other once at a random restaurant, we've barely exchanged text messages, total probably 30. Most of the time, me texting him just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for saving my life. Thank you for putting me on the path. Thank you for everything you've done for me. And oftentimes I wouldn't get a response, which was painfully hard. But I also knew that he was in his own process. He's in his own journey. And so I did my best to not take it personally. So I text Travis and I send him a song. That was a song that he used to sing all the time. And I text him the song and he writes back, I used to love singing this. And I know, that's why I sent it to you. And it started a conversation that then opened to an understanding that his son, who is 18 years old, the reason why I reached, the reason why I was guided, is addicted, massively addicted to the most addictive substance that I know of on the planet right now, called fentanyl. Anyone heard of fentanyl? I don't know. If you've watched the news in the last multiple years, you've probably seen the amount of deaths that are occurring due to this substance. Well, this 18-year-old boy has been consuming about 30 of them a day, smoking them. This 18-year-old boy has a drug dealer who lives across the street from him, who comes across to his house while he opens his window and just tosses death into his window. Here, kid, have some death. The amount of despair from a frequency perspective that drug carries is unlike anything I've ever felt and seen and witnessed. It is the deepest, darkest level of despair I've ever felt. So when Travis tells me that this is what's happening, I immediately said, I'm supposed to help. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, no, I am supposed to come and support your son in getting off this substance. Why do I know? Because I've done it for myself. Why do I know? Because I've helped others do it. Why do I know? Because if I didn't get this message, I wouldn't be here. Why do I know? Because if you hadn't helped save my life, I wouldn't be able to be helping save your sons. And here we are, less than 2 weeks later. And we are preparing, all three of us, myself and these two men, to get in a car and drive from Phoenix to Mexico next Friday. And we're going to be sitting with one of the most powerful plant medicines on the planet called ibogaine. It is one of the most powerful plant medicines. It comes from a root called the iboga root in Africa. And this medicine has shown time and time and time again to support people in healing some of the most powerful addictions. And so we're going. And so I'm leading the charge, and I'm taking anyone and everyone who is willing to and able to do this work. I'm taking them along with me. Why? Because the world needs more people who are living from their soul's essence, who are connected to their emotional body, who are alive and vital and sharing their gifts in the world. The world needs more of that. The world needs you as the best version of yourself, not as the version of yourself that is utilizing drugs or alcohol to disassociate from your life or what else you might be addicted to. Social media, your phone, the news, drama, abusive relationships. The list goes on and on. So to say I'm being guided by spirit right now would be an understatement. Feel like I am just being used. And I'm grateful. One of the things that came through in my ayahuasca ceremony with my mom a little more than a year ago last summer when I was in Costa Rica was pray daily, use me, use me, use me, use me, use me. And it took me a year-ish to integrate that. I don't know why that had to be so hard, why I couldn't, that one, why didn't I just start praying it immediately? I don't know, because we're human and we do silly things sometimes. Use me. And so now here we are, 15 months later, and that is my prayer every morning. Use me. Spirit, use me. Spirit, guide me. Show me how I can be of highest service today. Illuminate the path for me so that I may be able to serve this planet in a way that transforms people's lives so that we can transform the planet. Use me. This kid needs more love, not less. He needs more love and more connection, not less. He doesn't need people to tell him that he's doing it wrong, and he doesn't need people to point out his flaws. He doesn't need people to judge him for his behavior. Nothing transforms in a field of judgment. Let me repeat that again. Nothing transforms in a field of judgment, which means if you want to transform your life, you have to first give yourself compassion and acceptance. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And if you repeat that mantra enough, your subconscious might start to believe you. And once you love and accept yourself exactly as you are, then you hit the rainbow bridge. What's the rainbow bridge? It's the bridge to the higher states of energy. It's where you move from being in fear and guilt and shame and apathy and grief. And you move up and you say, you know what? I love and accept myself. I have courage. I'm going to face this. I can come to a neutral state. I have willingness to change. I love and accept myself. And then you tap into these higher energies. You start accessing reason and understanding, higher level faculties. You start accessing love and reverence for life. Like, wow, I am so blessed to be in this body, in this life, right here, right now. Reverence. Thank you for the sunrise I'm about to watch. Reverence. Thank you. In reverence, in solidarity to these medicines that we have the opportunity to consume on this planet, not for abuse, not for overuse. And guess what? People do the same exact shit that they were doing with their cocaine that they do with their ayahuasca. And I'm not saying that in judgment. I'm just saying it in comedy because it's true. They get off one addictive behavior and they go into another spiritual addicted behavior, and then they justify it because they're expanding their consciousness. But if you're not shifting and integrating whatever comes through in your journeys and then being that in the world, you stop. Seriously, just stop doing it. You might as well just go sit on your hands somewhere. Please, if we're going to say we're building the new earth, don't repeat the patterns and the cycles that have gotten us here in this earth. Do I take substances? Yes. What substances do I take? Microdoses in places where it's legal. In places where it's legal. Or I should say not illegal. Microdoses of psilocybin, microdoses of LSD, maybe once a year, maybe. Quite often not. Like I think I've done it 3 times since 2014. A microdose of MDMA. Why take MDMA? Because it opens your heart. Why take mushrooms? Because it reminds you of the interconnectedness of all. Why microdose LSD? Because it connects you to your deepest, deepest, deepest core essence. Why sit with ayahuasca? Because it brings you into the shadow and connects you to the light and reminds you that you are the bridge. Why smoke cannabis? Because it allows you to access creativity. And if you're judging any of what I just said, notice your judgment. Come back to love. All that I just shared about how I see each of those medicines is just my own 2 cents. Everyone might have their own experience about that, but that's what I've come to learn about those medicines. That's how I feel. That's what I feel the gift is of each of those. And I promise you, I do not abuse any of them. I don't even abuse caffeine. And I'm not saying this to be like high and mighty. I'm just saying it because I want you to know that it's possible, that if I can do it, you can do it. If I can go from being massively addicted to painkillers, massively addicted psychologically to MDMA, and now I'm not, so can you. So can you. Whatever it is, whatever your thing is, ketamine. By the way, ketamine, people ask me about that. Like, what do I think about ketamine? I think it's highly addictive. So you better watch the fuck out. Okay. That's it for today's solo cast. I love you guys. I would love to hear what you took away from this episode. Please send us a DM on Instagram. Please send Alley Cat some love. She is in an intense sprint season in her business and life. She's been really, really, really focused on her health. She's doing an incredible job. She's preparing to do a pretty big thing. We talked about capital raise that she's about to do, that she is doing. It's already happening. It's all happening. But send that woman some love. You know, she lost her partner just a couple months ago. We love you, Allie. Can't wait to get back to a shared duo episode with you in the coming week. And to everyone that is listening, more love, not less. More compassion, not less. More care for humans around you, not less. And for yourself as well. And whatever addiction you have, just know that if you believe that you can shift this and you believe that change is possible and transformation is possible and a new life is possible and being the person that you came here to be is possible, start there. Just start by believing that it's possible. I love you all. I will see you all soon.
If you enjoy the Guided podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And be sure to come back next week. Until then, this is Alley Katz and
Amanda Goolsby.
And remember, life knows.